Well, looks like I'm live. This always takes just a moment for things to, the stream to go out, for me to get some feedback from you guys, make sure it's coming through. You can hear me, you can see me. I know there's some people. All right. Thank you, Tony, for the hi. It's really all I needed. Just someone to let me know I'm live. Thank you very much. Okay, so great. I'm glad it's working. Thank you for chatting. I did get notes from people saying that they couldn't make the live thing, so whatever handful of you are able to be here with me live during this stream, I hope you'll be very active in the chat window so that I can feel like we're having a communal fiddle moment. I'm seeing some chats. Hello, hello, hello. Seattle, Ireland, Maine. Amazing. Hello to all of you. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. So today's tune is Red Steer, which it's funny, like people, I put this one up recently in my tune archive on my website. If you don't know, there's a thing you can subscribe to have access to this archive of tunes. It's just me playing the tune and then playing it slower and really slow for learning. And I often choose those tunes based on requests that I get from subscribers. And I had gotten some requests to put up a video for Red Steer, and I did not that long ago. And I wrote about it in my Fiddle Geek newsletter. And so then when I was going to do a workshop, I started getting requests for Red Steer as a workshop tune. And I was resisting doing it because I felt like, I don't know, like I don't have a completely nailed down specific way that I bow it, or even like melodically I vary it somewhat. And then I realized that's actually great for a workshop. So, because that's a real thing. I mean, a lot of times for workshops, I like to figure out, like, here's a way to bow this tune, and I'm going to show you a really specific way to bow this tune, and here are the exact notes. And this one is going to be a little squishier, but I feel like that's probably a great learning tool, because it's going to be more about how are you emphasizing the rhythmic phrase with the bow and creating a danceable fiddle tune. And it won't be quite as prescriptive maybe as some of the other things that I've done in these workshops. It's such a fun tune. It's so great. So how I'm going to do this is first I'll play the tune for you a little bit, and then I'll break it down and go through in phrases, and I'll try to be kind of consistent during that part. Like I'll try to consistently play the melody the same way, and that will be sort of a jumping off point. And I'll also try to bow things kind of the same way. Same thing, a jumping off point. And then after we have this sort of version in common, then I can show you some of the ways that I vary it, and I'll also be playing you a little bit of the source recording from Dyke's Magic City Trio and pointing out how different my version has become over the years, because that's what happens. So that's the plan for today's workshop. As I'm going through stuff, if I move on too quickly from a part or you need me to clarify something, please make a note in the chat window and tell me that. Save your more general fiddle questions for the end, because I'll have a general Q&A time after we work on the tune. But yeah, if during the course of breaking things down I go too quickly through something, please tell me and I'll revisit the chunk of the phrase that you need me to revisit. So first I will play the tune a couple times just to refamiliarize you with it. I'm assuming that you are here because you know the tune as a tune and you want to learn it. But here's the way I play it. It is an AEAE tuning, by the way. I think all of my, promo for this workshop said that. But if you haven't retuned yet, go ahead and retune. Slower. So we're going to slow it way down from there, don't worry. But that's the sort of basic approach for what I'm going to show you in the breaking the tune down part of the workshop. I will note this is a 3-part tune, so I will be referring to the A part, the B part, and the C part when I'm breaking things down. Just going to check the chat window real quick. Wow. Got someone in Finland, Michigan, Massachusetts, Long Island. This is awesome. Thank you all so much for being here. And yes, cross A. So, I'm gonna go through and break things down into phrases and move pretty slowly through those phrases. We'll have some repetition. And after this workshop broadcast is over, I will come back in and I will add chapters to the video. So if later on you want to revisit a specific phrase or a specific part of the workshop, that'll be really easy to do. Okay. So the first bit I'm going to do that super slow. So you're just hitting the low open strings. I'm going to do that a few more times, really slow. Even slower. So if you want to match my exact bowing on this, that's a down, up, down, up, down, up. I'm going to do that again. Even more slowly. Okay, now something I want to point out is that that last up bow, that thing that happens, that's just emphasis. I don't stop that bow. It's not an up, up. It's an up. So, yeah. Hopefully the bow never really stops, ever. But as far as one of the great things about this tune, and one of the reasons I thought it would be a fun one to work on for a workshop, is that there are a lot of those moments of like within the bow, really clear emphasis like that. And I just want to point out that it's not up, up. It's up. So I'll do it again. Like that. One more time. Okay, so the whole phrase, because I don't want you to lose track. That's where we're going. So we've just done. The next thing that's going to happen is a little ornament on the down bow, which if you aren't used to doing left-hand ornaments, don't be frightened. It's really just and yeah, I am playing a low 2 there. So it's that, but you just speed it up. It's not scary. It just takes a minute to gradually speed it up until it becomes an ornament instead of separate notes. So I think that doesn't seem like I should have ended up on a down bow. Okay, there's another ornament I'm putting in there. Okay, so I'm still coming out on the down bow, aren't I? I did work on this beforehand, I swear. Okay, that's what I'm doing. So this is the next chunk. That's how I'm doing that. So I'm going to keep doing that a few times. I'll do it a little slower. One more time. So is that holding together for you? Let's play those two chunks together now. Let's do that again, a little bit slower. Okay, so in context. So that's the entire A part, what I just played for you. So far we have and next we're gonna go so these are not separate bow strokes going down, up, down, down, up, up. These are down, up. So that's there's sort of a down, up thing that happens in this particular chunk of the phrase. So just this part of the phrase. So the second half of the phrase, I feel like, has a little bit more of this thing. So if we glue all of that together, all right, let's do that whole thing, but a little bit slower. One more time. Is that making sense? Did I break that down right? Now, I do play 2 strings almost all the time in this tune. So I'm, for the sake of clarity with what I'm doing melodically, I'm kind of trying to play single notes a little more as I'm breaking this down. But when I'm actually playing it, that's more how I'm doing it. So that's the whole A part. And something's going on here. What exactly was the ornament on the C sharp? Oh, right, yeah. That one, right? Because I talked about this one, but I didn't talk about this one. So what I'm doing there is, if you want the actual notes, I'm putting that second finger down. So that's the ornament, but it goes by super fast, so. Hope that helped. Now the B part, I think is probably the point at which I diverge the most from the source recording, and I'm not sure how that happened, but I have been playing this tune, in sessions and wherever for, who knows, 30 years or something. So it just happened at some point. And I'll go back to the source recording later in the workshop, and we'll talk about how the phrasing is a little different, but this is the way that I do it. So that's what we're going to work on next as the B part. So the first chunk would be let's say it's all really one phrase, so it's sort of hard to break it into chunks, but we'll call that a chunk. So ish. I know my bowing is probably changing, but I'll try to be consistent. I can't be consistent, so that's the deal. A little slower. Okay, so just don't think about bowing, just think about phrasing. So the B phrase all together. So we've just done the next chunk will be So, right. So the next chunk is... You don't need the ornament there. Right, that's where we're starting. So let's glue those two parts together, because I don't know about you, but my brain is having a hard time separating them. I'll just do it really slowly a few times through. Again. One more time. Now, don't get freaked out if you're not getting this melodically perfect with me right now, because I'm doing this just as something for us all to grip onto together. And then I'm going to show you that I don't play it this way all the time. So there are lots of little variations that you can do in here. So we just want a general sketch of the tune to work on together. So far we have the A part. Let's glue the A part and the B part together, shall we? Here's the A part. B part. Again. Okay, hopefully you have enough of that to hang on as we go on to the C part. So I'm not seeing any panicked messages in the chat window, so I'm going to carry on. So the B part ends... That's how the C part goes. So there's sort of a little connecty phrase that goes from the B part into the C. We're not going to think about that right now. I'm just going to show you how the C phrase goes. So we're going to call that the first chunk. So right now I'm showing it to you as the open E to the second finger on the A. I do, when I'm actually playing this, I often use the fourth finger. But for the sake of simplicity and accessibility, we'll just go with the open string for right now. Those of you who are very comfy with your fourth fingers, I present that to you as a way of just kind of varying the texture of the tune to go, you can go back and forth. That's what I do. Sometimes I play the open, sometimes I play the fourth finger. So the C phrase, so we've just done. Let's do that again. Again. Okay, so let me play the whole phrase for you again. So you can hear it's basically the same thing, but you have to get from the first chunk into the second chunk, which is the same. So I'm just adding a little first finger, second finger thing. Again, this is another spot where that's a little squirrely, but I put a little ornament there. So let's do that again, those two chunks. I'll do it even a smidge slower. And then here, you'll be playing a phrase that should be familiar from the B part. So right now, this probably seems like a pile of abstract nonsense because I've slowed it all down so much that there's like no groove and it's just a bunch of disparate chunks of information. So in order to remedy that, let's try to glue the whole thing together, turn it into a tune. I will just play it I will try to keep it at moderate tempo, play it a few times through, at which point probably somebody's going to have a question and a clarification need, and you can put that in the chat window. But for right now, let's just try to play it through a few times together, very mellow tempo. But hopefully this will help create something more concrete out of the abstract noises we've been making. So messed up there in the C part. So as we were doing that, I realized I didn't actually go back and talk about connecting the B part to the C part. So that's how you do it. Just put the second finger down. So there's this sort of phrase that leads in to the next bit. I think that was only a couple times through the tune, but that probably gave you a chance to figure out what information I left out. So feel free to tell me in the chat window. And while you're doing that, I will say, I hope that as we're going through this, the fact that I'm kind of overemphasizing certain aspects of the phrase and breaking things down and trying to kind of, stop the bow so it's clear how the phrase is going, I hope that's not throwing you off of our end goal of playing a tune with drive and a rhythmic pulse. So I know you're not going to be there yet because we've only just started, but I don't want you to lose track of the end goal. Let me see. I don't know. You guys, you're not saying anything. Are you still there? I hope you're still there. I guess you've got it. Yeah, okay, so Donna Jo is asking to play the second repetition of the A part at speed so you can hear the rhythm better. Yeah. And second time through the B part, confusing me, slightly different. Yeah. I'm probably not being as consistent as I meant to be. But okay, so first let me play that A part for you. So I'll do that a little bit slower. Sorry, I started getting weird with the bowing there. Maybe it would help. I had this idea of bringing along a metronome today, just in case. It would be helpful so that you can hear kind of how the rhythmic emphasis is fitting with the beat. I've tried this before in workshops with me tapping my foot, and I never feel like my foot is audible enough. So this is I'm getting experimental here. I'm going to turn on the metronome and play along with it. So you'll get to see whether I can even do that, because I don't usually, but. So there's the beat. Etc. So that's how the phrasing kind of fits with where the beat is, where the downbeats are. Maybe that was helpful. Hopefully it was. And let me. Oh, okay. So you were both. What same note is played twice in a row? Okay, so both of the commenters are confused about the second half of the A part. So, so there's a lot of that third finger on the E string, the A note on the E string. So that's one note. I'm assuming this is the part that you were wondering about, so that's third finger. That's a slur from the third to the fourth finger, and then back to the third finger. So let me do that again. And then I will say, this is consistently, like when I'm teaching, whether it's a one-on-one lesson or a workshop or whatever, like when I go digging into source recordings, I swear it's those exact bits of a phrase, like where there's some kind of pulse that stays on the same note, that is the most confusing thing, because your ear wants to hear it as a melodic change, and it's not. It's just a rhythmic emphasis. And it's so funny how our brains want to manufacture something melodic where it's actually rhythmic. It's the same note. But yeah, I can't tell you how many times I have been thrown off by something just like this in any number of other fiddle tunes, where when I put something into the amazing slowdowner, I realize, oh, that's the same note. They're just doing something rhythmically cool. And it is like, it's sort of like an optical illusion that our ear wants to fill in information that isn't actually there. So sometimes it really is simpler than we think it is. Not that creating these kind of rhythmic phrases are simple, but the melody may not be as complicated as you think. So, and I also want to re-emphasize that even though I may be really sort of exaggerating that pulse when I'm playing it slowly for you, the bow is not stopping. So the sound never goes away, the bow never stops. There's just two different points of emphasis, or maybe to think about it the other way around, of like there's a point of like lifting the pressure of the bow a little bit in the middle. Whichever way works better for your brain. Okay, got another comment. There's also a repeated note in the B part. Yes, maybe with the bow direction change. Yes, you are correct. Those notes do come up. And also, I will say, now that I guess we're to the part of the workshop where I'm going to start pointing out things that I actually do when I'm playing the tune. So right now, I'm showing you when in reality, sometimes I do it that way, and sometimes I don't do up bow pulse, and instead I just do 2 separate bow strokes. So the important part of it is always, what is the rhythmic emphasis that you're trying to create? There are always going to be different ways to create that rhythmic emphasis. And so, again, like I said, I don't want to be prescriptive about this. The goal here is for you to do some deep listening and try to figure out how you want to express these rhythmic phrases. And I will encourage you to get experimental about that and to try to do these things like these, a pulse on the up bow, just so that that's something that you can do, because it's always good to push yourself to try to create rhythmic phrases in different ways so that your fiddling doesn't all sound the same. But anyway, that's a little bit of a tangent. So back to the B part. I think that's the thing you're talking about. So yeah, that is one way that I play the B part. I also, let me see, I feel like there is a different thing that I... So sometimes I do it the way I showed you. Sometimes I go... So I go down to the second finger on the A string. So there's more sort of melodic back and forth. This tune allows for a lot of those kind of, you can change your approach because there's a lot of kind of, I don't know, just kind of bouncing around melodically and bouncing around from the E string to the A string. So, I mean, for me, I feel like if I'm in a session and someone says, hey, let's play Red Steer, I'm probably going to be adapting the way that I play it to how they play it. And so it'll depend on how they're phrasing it. And so this is, again, a jumping off point. So there's a comment, I think that happens mostly when you play it fast. Yeah, I mean, I definitely, things change around. I'm trying to keep it consistent as I'm showing it to you, slowly. So yeah, when I'm thinking about like, how do I actually play this up to speed, like more of a normal session speed or dance speed or whatever, different ways of phrasing come out. So, yeah, that's what I'm wanting to point that out so that you're not confused. So let's try playing it all together again. And I'll play it through slowly and then I'll speed it up a little bit. And what I'm going to try to do right now, because I know that the folks out there in internet land are at all sorts of different levels of fiddle ability, and some of you probably already play this tune and you were just curious. So we'll speed it up a little bit and I will try to not think about what I'm doing and just let it happen the way it would if I was just playing in a session. And we'll see what kinds of things happen. I'm sure a lot of variation will happen, especially with my bow. So, but I'll start out mellow. Ready, here we go. that's pretty steppy for a lot of notes, a lot of bowing. As I was playing it that last time through, definitely noticed some bowing stuff happening, where like maybe because I was playing it more quickly, I was adding some slurs in where I hadn't been when I was doing it slowly. But hopefully you get the sense of the rhythmic phrase and the way that there's emphasis happening all the time with the bow. So one of the things I like to point out is there's never a bow stroke that's static, that's just like the same amount of pressure all the time. Every single bow stroke has a point of emphasis in it. There's you know, a rhythmic expression that's happening in every single bow stroke. So, you know, even that first one, there's sort of a crescendo that happens. Every single one of these bow strokes, there's a point where there's more pressure. So there's always a dynamic going on within the bow stroke. It's more dramatic if you're doing something like one of these up bow pulse things, because there's sort of extra emphasis. But even when you're just doing a single note, like there's just always going to be a sense of dynamic within each bow stroke. And that's what, you know, when you're playing a tune up to speed, that continuous sense of dynamic within the bow strokes is what gives it a rhythmic pulse. So, yeah, just changing bow direction, so just sort of sawing with the bow, isn't going to give you a pulse in the same way. You need to have that sense of like, where am I putting the rhythmic emphasis and how do I add that sort of like sense of, I don't know, gravity in the attack with the bow. Let me see what's going on in the chat window. Okay, sounds like Tony's got it figured out. Good, glad to hear it. So, as we've gone through the tune, broken it down, played it together a few times, I've preached at you about emphasizing with the bow. Now, I think it would be fun to just listen for a moment to the source recording. So, the source recording is from Dyke's Magic City Trio. I will put, after this workshop is over, I will put a link in the video description. So down there in the description area, a direct link to the Slippery Hill page that has this recording on it. And also a link to my newsletter where I talk more about the tune and the sources that I've learned from. So let's see. Here is the source recording.
Now, boy, what's happening? Wait a minute, you got mine, yeah. Now let's go. First, couple on the floor.
So you get the idea. There's a lot of squirreliness in the B and C parts, and there isn't an actual form for the tune on the source recording, which I talked about in my newsletter, that it sort of seems like maybe Jeff Gehring would be the kind of more contemporary source for like this arrangement of the tune as we're doing it. But I've also played this in a lot of sessions with Bruce Molsky, and so anyway, but as you can hear, the B part phrasing is quite different than how I do it. I think at some point he does play it like at one time, sort of closer to the way I'm doing it, but it's a little bit, I feel like his approach is a little bit more squared off maybe in the B part, and also certainly sort of notier in a way, and has more separate bow strokes going on. If we slow it down though, I'm using the amazing slowdowner here, which all people who want to be fiddle geeks, this is software to use for sure. So if I put it at half speed, I really feel like that A part and the way that those notes are emphasized, like we're talking about with the pulse and the sense of bowing dynamic, that's really like the most important thing that I want you to take away from this, working on this tune. And you can hear how he does this. Something like that. So you can hear like it's just so cool. And it's so much a part of so much old time fiddling, is that sense of like, I don't know, there's like this, it's both really grounded and also kind of gooey at the same time, if that makes sense. I don't have good language for this stuff, but yeah, so it's so good. And then of course there's the dance calls, kind of pseudo dance calls going on top of it. It's just really, really fun. Jamaica wants to know if the grace notes are high or low twos. Well, I do both, and I'm not sure why. Maybe that's something that I picked up from that recording. Maybe it's just something that I tend to do. But for me, the grace notes, the little, trilly thing that I'm doing in the high part, I'm doing a low two. And then on that part, on the A string, I'm doing the high two. That's just what I do. So, oh, and another thing is the sort of, one of the fun things about playing in cross tuning. There's so many fun things about playing in cross tuning, but a tune like this, you can add in more of this part if you want, like this. Like instead of, that's another variation that I do for sure. Instead of going, I might add in another one of these sort of in the first phrase. So. So that's something I do for sure. Also, of course, you can play this melodic, all the melodic stuff on the lower two strings instead of the top strings. So. Which is fun, in sessions. I will also link to the Field Recorders Collective recording of Jeff Gehring and friends playing this, and it's a big, roiling, fun session that's happening, and you'll hear one fiddle going low when the other's still high, and again, to me, that stuff is just sort of textural, and there's something pleasing about that to me, to vary that stuff. So, I hope I've given you a lot to chew on, and I will, of course, send you to the source recording, the Jeff Gehring recording, and I have moved my tune video version of this. It is available for my paid subscribers on my website, but I've also made it available for free subscribers on my website as just a reference point. A caveat, I have a feeling that the way that I did it for that video is probably a smidge different from, melodically, from how I've just shown you to do it. But that just goes along with the theme being, hey, mix it up. So, yeah. Now, I would say it's time for a more general fiddle Q&A. If you have specific questions about fiddly things that aren't about this tune, the floor is yours. I'll give you a moment, and if nobody chimes in, then we can play the tune a couple more times, and I'll let you go. While I'm waiting to see whether anyone has general fiddle geek questions, I will remind you that I do one-on-one coaching sessions. I call it coaching because it's really, for me, about helping you figure out how to figure things out on your own. I don't do regular lessons with people unless they really want that, unless they want sort of the accountability and the checking in more frequently, which I'm happy to do. But I'm also very into having people just say, hey, I'm having a problem with a specific tune, or I think I'm doing something wrong with my bow hold, or whatever. They have a specific problem they want to solve, and we have a session. We work on it. It's always really fun for me. I like helping people solve fiddle problems. So if that's of interest, there's information on my website about that. I'm not seeing any general fiddle geek questions popping up in the chat window. So apparently you really came here just to work on this tune. So cheers, everybody. It is a great tune. It's a super fun tune. It's a happy tune. We all need that. So let's play the tune a couple more times, and then I will send you on your way. So again, let's start out a little mellow, and then I'll speed it up a little bit. Okay, so I will send you off with the message of this is just a jumping off point. What I've shown you today is just to help you get a grip on it because it's a lot of information. But the journey is entirely yours, and the way that you get to the rhythmic expression that you want to get to is going to be a very individual journey, and nobody else can get you there. But I want to encourage you to do a lot of experimentation in the way that you use the bow and the way that you create rhythmic emphasis, because that's what it's all about. And all these scratchy old recordings that I love so much, every single one of these fiddlers has their own idiosyncratic approach to making fiddle noises. And that's what's so great. So you don't need to worry about making it your own. Try as hard as you can to sound like the source that you're learning from, the sources that you're learning from. It's still going to come out sounding like you. And it's a journey. Just have fun on the way. And there's no right or wrong. There's just sort of layers of information that you peel back and you go deeper and deeper and deeper, and it never stops. I'm still peeling back layers and layers of information on all of these tunes, and it's great. It's so fun. So just enjoy that process and enjoy where you're at with the process, and don't get discouraged. And if you need me, I'm here for you. Reach out. Also, send me your suggestions for tunes, both to teach in workshops and to add to my tune library on my website. Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I guess since I have you here, I'll say due process is a nonpartisan issue, and protesting is patriotic. So keep it up out there. Onward and upward. I'm going to end the stream. Revisit this later and it'll have chapters so you can skip over all my talking. Thanks again, you guys. Happy fiddling. Keep in touch.